Thank you, President Steger. Greetings, Provost McNamee, Mr. Lowe, Class President Kahn, colleagues, degree candidates, and families and friends. Okay, I'm not really your commencement speaker, so you can put away those laptops. There's no need to check your email or to get on Facebook. I am your commencement examiner. To qualify for your diploma, there is one more question. So take out a sheet of paper. All right, you got that cap and gown thing going. So perhaps I'll allow you to do it in your head, and the grading will be here on the honor system, all right? The question: what connects you to Virginia Tech? Now, this is a question you're going to be asking yourselves many times throughout your lives. And I want to make sure you get it right, so I'm going to help. The correct answer is my mother, Angela Tincher, and your transcript. So how many of you got that right? Provost McNamee, we may have fallen short in our ethics education a little. Okay, the first part of this question is, how did you get here in the first place? What led you here? Who guided you? I found my way into mechanical engineering, in part because, yes, I was good at math and science, but also because I was male in a blue-collar family from Pittsburgh trying to move up. Of the 14 cousins we have in our family, all 5 boys headed off to engineering. None of the girls. All 9 of them went into, can you guess? Teaching or nursing. Now, in my family, there was no money for college. I grew up in rented houses. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship for my tuition. But what about room and board? To pay my room and board, my mother went off to worked as a teacher's aide in an elementary school. It's a job that changed her life. For many years, she had been saying she wished that she could have become a teacher. Well, she taught the 3 of us. Family trips for us meant memorizing all the states in order and all the capitals. And even on her deathbed, she lay there whispering. I watched her. Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, to help keep herself together. My mother never got to be a teacher, but all 3 of her children did. So who helped you? Who helped you get here and stay here like my mother and my father helped me? Now, is your connection here about being part of something bigger than you? For the past 4.5 years, or 5.5 years, or 3.5, we'll call it 3.5 years, you have been students at Virginia Tech. When you come up here and walk across this stage and you receive congratulations from our president, you go from being at Virginia Tech to being of Virginia Tech. This is a big difference. You become a permanent part of something that's bigger than you. No one can take away an earned diploma. This is actually a change. This change is something that I've been pondering a lot over the past 1.5 years. You see, I came to Virginia Tech in 1983 as an educator and as a researcher, with an interest in how forms of knowledge challenge and shape us as people. That interest had led me into the social sciences alongside engineering and then graduate school in anthropology. But for 24 of my years here, I thought of myself as at Virginia Tech. I was part of a growing academic field of science and technology studies. I was here to educate thousands of students. But Virginia Tech was my employer only. All this changed on April 16th, 2007. The trauma, the profound experience of personal loss, and the recognition of the unfathomable and continuing pain of so many shocked me. Shocked me into a recognition of my deep connection with all of you in this Coliseum and many more elsewhere. Before April 16, I was at Virginia Tech. Beginning on April 16, I have been of Virginia Tech. Ut prosum, the Virginia Tech motto, that I may serve, it became my motto too. Now, being part of something that's bigger than you is especially important in this country of ours. Because the United States, you see, took one little part of English culture, the idea of the individual, and made it the ultimate foundation of our national being. In the United States, there's always one thing that's taken for granted. It's the absolute given, the individual. Our problematic, is how we connect to one another. That's our challenge, and we're not always so good at it. So, after you accept that diploma and you become a permanent part of something that's bigger than you, what will that mean to your identity, both today and in future years? How will you think about that Virginia Tech that is inside of you? Now, as the years go by, there's one arena, one kind of performance, let's say, that will reach out and will grab you, or at least try. It will mess with your mind. No matter what you do to push it away, it's going to insist on defining how you feel about your day, how you feel about your identity, how you feel about yourself. And that is sports. Do I have my colors right? Okay. You are never, ever going to be able to hear Enter Sandman again without all those images in your mind. Yeah, ACC champions. I mean, can you believe that? Now, my first love, athletically, is women's basketball. I love the technical way that game is played. But I have to say, Coach Greenberg has won me over to the men's game because this coach is amazing at teaching defense, which I love. At Virginia Tech, we've had many athletic successes to celebrate over the past year. The women's soccer team blowing through the ACC and into the NCAAs. How about that? Queen Harrison in the Olympics. Tasman Fanning finishing third in the NCAA's National Cross Country Championship. But I have to tell you that the moment that really got to me, which I considered last spring, which I considered to be one of the greatest sports accomplishments in history, was softball pitcher Angela Tincher throwing a no-hitter against the U.S. Olympic team. Okay. And with hitting behind her in defense, winning the game 1-0. Now, one morning I'm sitting at home drinking my coffee, open the sports pages, and there's a little box that reports this accomplishment. I read it 4 or 5 or 6 times. I mean, I couldn't believe it. This was the most powerful hitting team ever assembled. Professional players, I mean, big, strong, huge professional players. They kill college teams 20-0. They had won 195 games in a row against college teams. And Angela Tincher is what, 5'7", maybe 130 pounds? Well, I got to watch every pitch when the game was later broadcast nationally. And I followed the team through the ACC, the regional, and then to the super regional at Michigan. Well, they lost. You got to win 3 games. They lost the first game on day 1. They'd have to come back and win 2 the next day on the road at Michigan. Well, our family scheduled a hike on the Appalachian Trail on day 2. After the hike, on the way home, I frantically checked to the radio to see what happened. Not too optimistic. We're in the next to last inning of game 3. We're winning 6-1. Tincher had pinched all 3 games. I mean, hooray, hooray. In the back seat, my 15-year-old daughter, Leah. She pauses the iPod because of all the commotion. Dad, she says ominously, this Angela Tincher stuff is starting to get creepy. Are you in love with her or something? Yes, I said, how could I not be? You have to understand she's thrown over 300 pitches in 24 hours and she's beating the University of Michigan on their own field. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, President Steger, Ms. Tincher and I have not met. We have rules, you know. Okay, the feeling that I'm trying to evoke here is this sense of participation in what gets called the Hokie Nation. Those who care about sports, you will find your emotional makeup, even your sense of self-esteem connected to what happened to some Virginia Tech team that day. It is a sign that you are part of something bigger than you. But the image of the Hokie Nation, I want to say here, is an incomplete image, and in some ways an inadequate image. A nation, you see, is a collection of individuals merged into a single whole. And the idea of the nation emphasizes how all of its members are alike, citizens. And the image can even become pressure to be alike. It's called nationalism, the performance of nationalism. Some of you here don't care about sports. What the image of the Hokie Nation does not capture is a profound connection that emphasizes not our similarities, but our differences. And so I want to call your attention to another image. Now, this image does not have the audio and visual force of Metallica behind it. Putting it on a video board probably wouldn't do much for you. But it is a profound indicator of your connectedness nonetheless. The image is your transcript. No 2 people, think about this, no 2 people have the same transcript, attending every single course together. Well, unless they're maybe a little strange, but likely not. Now, the transcript is usually a source of anxiety about numbers. What is my GPA? To the 11th digit. Do I have enough credits in all the right places? Well, what those lines that make it onto a transcript indicate is acquired knowledge. I said that I'm interested in how forms of knowledge challenge and shape us as persons. Through learning a major, you're learning not only ways of thinking, but ways of acting, of being, of living, of contributing, of serving. We in my field call it performativity. Your knowledge practices perform through you. So people learning, let's say, physics, You're learning to see everything through underlying principles. You're always looking for the underlying principles. And you live with this image of an Albert Einstein and his famous formula, whatever it is. And the question, am I a genius too? People learning the social sciences, you're trained to see the hierarchies and social strategies going on in this room. What kinds of racial or class or gender relations are being enacted here? What about power and politics? People trained in the humanities and arts are trained to perceive and maybe reproduce or generate anew the emotional contents of a situation, such as, for example, a university commencement, looking at how emotion is manifest in our lives. Architecture, finance, horticulture, environmental science, management, all learning, all of you in these different majors learning to see and contribute to the world through very particular lenses. Now, how about us engineers? I'm especially interested in how we engineers are challenged to engage the world as problems for us to solve. So I'm going to appeal to an ultimate authority to share this with you, and that is an advice column. A woman wrote to an advice column a while back looking for help. She said, "Two people were never different than my husband and me. I am a psychologist, and the man I married is an engineer. He is a perfectionist when it comes to sewers, walls, air conditioning, and roofs, and can solve any kind of building problem, but the man is a total idiot about exploring or attempting to solve personal problems. Will you please ask people how they live with this breed? My husband's friends and business associates are clones. Are engineers a special species or what?" I waited. So several weeks later, a wife from Houston. The answer is absolutely. My father was an engineer, as are 3 brothers and 4 uncles. Engineers are precise, logical, and great at problem solving, but they know very little about human interaction. Wife from Houston. Engineers are different. For my engineer husband, graduate of MIT, a crooked window must be adjusted at once. If, however, I am crawling around the house with a killer migraine, he doesn't notice. Husband from Chicago. My wife is an engineer. She is precise, analytical, and so sure of herself and definite in her views, she drives me crazy. My next wife, the language deteriorates a bit, we don't need to go there. But then, wife from Carbondale, Illinois. You're damned right engineers are different. They tend to look before they leap and have stable marriages. By nature, they are problem solvers, sensitive and caring. And wife from Indianapolis. My engineer husband doesn't send me flowers, but I'll take this nerdy-looking guy with his dull tie and wrinkled trousers over any of the men I've ever known. He is loyal, decent, dependable, and real. He'll never cheat or lie to me. That's worth a lot. Okay. Now, people respond to the challenges of our learning in lots of different ways. How are you responding to the challenges of your learning? Did we, the faculty, ever challenge you to think differently? Frighten you? Frustrate you? Make you angry? These are all evidence that we were giving you gifts of knowledge that now act through you. I won't ask if we ever bored you. Not all practices are perfect. But for starters, we have, by my count, 74 majors here. 74 different ways of approaching and contributing to the world. And then there are all these electives, each offering you distinct resources that you put together. We have over 1,000 unique transcripts, different ways of viewing, engaging, and contributing to the world. What happens in college, I want to tell you, matters. And it matters for the rest of your life. The bottom line here is that it is here. It is here at Virginia Tech that you gained the privilege of knowledge. And with that privilege, as with all privileges, both earned and unearned, comes responsibility. You learned how to learn. So now you're not permitted to stop. It's now a requirement. You can't ever use ignorance as justification for action. You have to use that knowledge to contribute, to serve. You've learned that there are lots of ways of thinking and acting that differ from yours. So you now carry the responsibility of patience and tolerance. Thinking differently doesn't mean that your coworkers or your friends or your family members don't know things. Different forms of knowledge are living through them. All this is documented on your transcript. You know, we tend to celebrate and post the diploma, right? I think we should celebrate and post the transcript, minus the grades, of course. At least order one, and I'm serious, order a transcript. And then take it out every once in a while to remind yourself how and when you came to think the way you, and approach the world the way you do. The true foundation of the Hokie Nation, what lies below what we share, is how we differ from one another. That foundation is indeed an educational foundation. It's that foundation that makes you want to jump up and down when you hear Enter Sandman. Don't forget it. The moment you accept your diploma, in that instant, when you come up here, you will no longer be at Virginia Tech. You will become of Virginia Tech. And as was the case with me, you didn't get here, and you didn't get through here by yourself. There are people in those stands who deserve your thanks. Now, if you judge that you have indeed passed your last exam, I offer you my congratulations and welcome to Virginia Tech. Thank you.